Joined now by Tennessee Athletic Director Danny White, who is doing something that I got to admit, Danny, I don't know that I ever thought I'd see this day, but as you guys prepare for a revenue share with the college athletes, you guys are tacking a talent fee onto your ticket price and just saying to the fans, hey, this is going to the players. What gave you the idea to do it this way?
You know, we're excited about NIL and excited about this new era of rev share. I think it's great that student athletes are now starting to get resource that I think that they've deserved, and it's a great time for college sports as we march forward. I think that Tennessee is really well positioned in that space. We've been a leader in NIL. We're trying to lead in a lot of ways in college athletics, and as we talk about how we communicate with our fan base. From the very beginning, once I got here, we've talked about being transparent, communicate early and often with them. And so we knew that as we look at roster limits and scholarship limits going away, and certainly the new $22 million revenue share coming into the athletics department, we knew we need their help. And so how do we communicate that and make sure that we're generating as much revenue as we can off of our stadium, off of our arena? And at some point, there was a light bulb moment where somebody in our creative team just said, you know what, let's just be transparent with them and call it what it is. It's a talent fee, and it's going directly to the talent. It's going to our student athletes as part of this new world order in college sports. So I know our fans will embrace it. They've supported us every step along the way, and I expect the same will happen here.
Well, and you mentioned the scholarship limits are going away. You have the roster caps now where you could actually go up to 105 scholarships in football and quite a few more in some of the other sports as well. I'm just kind of doing the math in my head. Even 10% maybe doesn't get you all the way to the 22 million. How much money are we actually talking about in terms of what you've got to raise and also what you've got to cut from what you might have been spending before, or I guess reallocate?
Yeah, it will operate differently to the tune of, I think the math problem is north of $30 million. This talent fee maybe helps about a third of it, depending on how sales go across all of our venues. It is rolling out now as part of our football renewals for 2025 at Neyland Stadium, but it's something that will be associated with every single ticket we sell in all of our venues. Season ticket holders will get a break because they don't have the Ticketmaster fees that single game transactions do. This will be kind of a new fee for them. But again, you can look at it like a fee. It's really, I look at it as an investment into our student athletes, and I know our fans are passionate about that.
And so the fans can also add on to that. Is that there's a capability? How do you do that?
They can. It's just like if you go out to dinner and you have a great experience, they might have a 18% required gratuity or a tip, and you can add on to it. So they'll have the ability to add additional on top of the 10% to the talent fee for those that have the means and can do it. Our fans understand, and I've talked a lot about, there's never been as much of a relationship between competitiveness and resources there is right now in college athletics. Every single dollar matters, and I think we have the biggest and best fan base in all of sport. They do a phenomenal job of filling our venues, buying hats and T-shirts in all the retail shops, all the different ways that they invest in our program. And this is another way that they can help us be more competitive.
Is it hard? I mean, how hard is that decision to make? I've never run a business before, but I imagine a price increase is a hard thing to consider, because you're going to get pushback on this. Because I can tell you right now, and there are going to be fans, even probably the most fervent Tennessee fans are going to say, okay, how much more can I give? Like, why you keep going up with me? At what point does it stay the same and you guys just reallocate? How do you decide when you have to do the price increase?
It's one of the hardest parts of my job, Andy. I hate to do it. I'd love to have it really inexpensive for everybody to come. And, we have 15,000 on the waiting list at Neyland Stadium. So there's a bunch of people that would love to pay what we're currently charging, and they can't even get in. So it's definitely challenging. We spend a lot of time benchmarking across the conference and the nation to make sure we're being fair and reasonable. I think that I know that we are. At our higher price points, we're in line with our competitors, and even this 10% addition, we're still in line. And what I take great pride in, when I first got here, we repriced both the stadium and the arena, and the goal there was to make it affordable for every Tennessee fan that makes it a priority and wants to be a season ticket holder. So we actually reduced prices on 60% of the stadium at that point in time, and that's kind of the baseline we're building on from here.
So how much does it help that people are pretty happy with the way Josh is running the football program? People are pretty happy with the way Rick's running their men's basketball program. You have some of the most dedicated fans in college sports and women's basketball, and of course, Tony Vitale and the baseball team are going to pack that place every game. How much does that allow you to be flexible and do things like this, whereas you got to sell a little harder if they're not winning?
It's a huge advantage. We're sold out, as I mentioned, in football. Men's basketball is sold out in this huge on-campus arena, sold out for the season. Both baseball and softball were sold out last year. I got a feeling they'll be sold out again next year, with baseball winning the national championship and softball winning the last two SEC championships. So we have a great fan base. We're very fortunate that way. But that's also why we're a great destination for student athletes, and they know that. We have been from a traditional name, image, and likeness perspective. We will continue to be as we get into revenue share and any way that college sports continues to evolve, whether it's about the number of eyeballs, the size of the fan base locally and nationally, we have advantages. If it's about the size of the city, we have advantages right here in Knoxville, and about 1 million people living in the two counties right in our surrounding community. So we're very fortunate here.
So how do you see this evolving? Because if the House settlement gets approved, then you guys will be allowed to share up to the $22.5 million, give or take. How do you see NIL evolving at that point? Because the collective that works with you guys, Spire, has been one of the more effective ones. One of the early adopters who understood how this worked a little better than everybody else. How does that change, and how does that relationship change as the rev share starts?
I think there's a lot to learn on how the House settlement evolves, and there's still a lot of detail to figure out. What does the new enforcement entity look like that's been contemplated, and how does all that work? How do we work with Spire? One of the things I love about Spire all along is they were an existing sports marketing agency before NIL ever existed. They were operating here in Knoxville. They have a business model that I think has a ton of shelf life. I think that it continues to provide value in this new world. It's not like a shell company NIL collective that we just created out of the air. So they do a lot of work with our student athletes and others outside of just traditional NIL and in the college space. So we'll see how it plays out. But what we've always done, and I mentioned earlier about being transparent and communicating early, we've always renewed as early as possible for all of our season ticket holders. We like to stretch out the payment schedule as long as possible to make it more affordable, as close to 12 months as we can. So we can't wait for the details of the House settlement before we do football renewals. And once we decided we wanted to implement this talent fee, we knew we needed to start telling our fans about that now, and expect to institute it with renewals very soon.
And how flexible do you have to be over the next year or so? Because it feels like a lot of this stuff is just coming. You're dealing with what a court says, or what a state decides, and then all the other states change their laws. How flexible have you college administrators had to be in these last few years just to manage that and deal with that?
Yeah, you're trying to solve a problem when you don't really know a lot of the details yet, and so we're doing different scenarios all the time, but we can't just put a 10% fee in the laps of our fans with a month before the season starts. We have to be prepared, and there are financial realities. I think in any scenario, it's going to become more expensive to compete at the level that we want to continue to compete at. and we have aspirations to grow even more competitively. I know our fans do too. We're proud of the accomplishments over the last few years, how much better we've gotten across the board. Proud of finishing number 3 in the All Sports Cup nationally. Proud of winning the SEC All Sports Cup the last 3 years. All that's great, but we're still hungry for more. And the talent fee and all the other ways our fans support us are a huge part of that equation.
Well, I know how I feel every time the price of barbecue goes up, so I do not envy your email box through these next few weeks. But Danny, I really appreciate you you coming on and explaining this, because I would imagine this is something that other schools are going to implement. Do you think you're going to be kind of a lone wolf on this, or do you think there's going to be others that follow suit here?
Yeah, I think the price of barbecue has gone up a lot in the last couple of years with inflation in our country. I know everyone's feeling that. We feel that in our daily operation. I don't know what others will do. This is how we're choosing to handle it. We just felt like might as well be straightforward with our fans. It's not a price increase that goes into a nebulous bucket. They know exactly where it's going, and I think they will feel good about where it's going. I know our fans are passionate about our student athletes, and I know our fans have embraced NIL in this new era.
Well, Danny, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No question. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you having me.